You are Locked On 76ers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Philadelphia, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Jeez Louise there, minivan. You're all revved up for this game there tonight against the 76ers. I don't know what George Niang, I don't know what his problem was. It looked like maybe Quentin Grimes scratched his arm and he had a nice little cut. And he seemed rather perturbed about that. But the Atlanta Hawks, I hope they realize this was a really intense game for them for some weird reason. They know the Sixers are terrible, right? You know the Sixers have, really, as an organization, no interest in winning whatsoever. You go up 20 points on them. You go up 16 early on them. You're in the midst of a pretty incredible, 19-4 run in that third quarter? Holy Stromboli. And George Niang's like picking a fight with Quentin Grimes. Hey, I love the intensity. We don't see a lot of intensity, really, the Sixers season last couple of months here. And so you saw some intensity tonight. I'm not going to include that in the perfect win or perfect loss category like I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks here because really the Sixers didn't show me much. Did they fight back in this game? Yeah. But this game was never close. We'll talk about the turning point. We'll talk about the player of the game. And you know what else we'll get into? We'll get into what you could be talking about tomorrow when it comes to this 76ers loss. And also this, just 11 games left in this horrendous season. And I think I've referenced this on the show before too, but being in Atlanta again made me think of this. The last time I felt great about the 76ers was their last game in Atlanta, Game 6 of that dreaded 7-game series where, of course, in Game 7, Ben Simmons passes up on the dunk because he's afraid to get blocked by that defensive stalwart of Danilo Gallinari. But Game 6 of that, if you remember, they came out of halftime on a mission. On a mission. And Ben Simmons threw that little no-look pass to a driving Joel Embiid who threw it down. And I went, yeah, that's it. And the Sixers were great. That's the last time I felt great about the 76ers. And it happened there in Atlanta. So that's my trip down memory lane. So let's talk about this one. First and foremost, welcome into Locked On Sports Philadelphia. This is Locked On 76ers Postcast on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. My name is Mark Barzetta. It's great to have you along for the ride as per usual. And don't forget, your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing Locked On 76ers daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On 76ers newsletter. Let's get into it. As we always do, we do have to acknowledge somebody who stood out today for your Sixers.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
We have talked about Quentin Grimes fatigue a little bit on this program. I'm happy that he's gotten 26 points. That's really nice. But how about Justin Edwards coming up for your Sixers? Another 20-point performance for Justin Edwards, starting to hit a little bit of a stride when it comes to consistent scoring. That is now 3 straight games where he's had at least 19 points. Or excuse me, 3 straight games where he's had at least 19 points. 2 straight games where he's put up at least 20 points. The last one, of course, was against the San Antonio Spurs where he put up 25. And then tonight, he put up 22 points on the Atlanta Hawks and did so while being aggressive really throughout the entire evening. He led the Sixers early in scoring. He was 8 of 18 from the floor, 3 of 6 from beyond the arc, 3 of 5 from the free throw line. He had 3 assists to go along with 3 rebounds as well. I'm going to go with Justin Edwards as our player of the game. Now, you could obviously go again to Quentin Grimes, who dropped 26 points tonight and also was the center of attention, him and George Niang, as they started jawing. Now, again, I don't know what I would assume it was about the cut on George Niang's arm, but it was a very rare occurrence. Like it was almost like NFL films. You could hear Quentin Grimes. You could certainly hear George Niang jawing at the end of that third quarter, where the Atlanta Hawks just absolutely dominated. But you could hear them jawing, and it sounded like George Niang said something to the effect of, because of what I do, you guys now do it. It was something like that. Like George Niang was taking credit for corner threes, I guess. But I think it started with a little cut, and he took exception to it. You saw him D'ing up, and Ala Abdelnaby during the broadcast even brought it up, saying, what is George Niang doing They're picking up Quentin Grimes at half court. Like, when has he ever picked up anybody at half court? So he was playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder at that point late in the third quarter. The Sixers were really going in the tank in that quarter at this point. George Niang takes exception to it. You have Quentin Grimes at the foul line. They're going back and forth like it's nobody's business. Quentin Grimes, to his credit, just was like, dude, whatever. Just trying to brush it all off. And George Niang just kept going. And we know the minivan here in Philly. We know him well. Man, he was, as I said, he was revved up tonight to be playing a Sixers team that sucks. He brought some Game 7 energy into playing a 23-win 76ers squad. So good for them. As far as the early goings of this game, the Hawks built a 16-point lead in the first half of this game tonight. And then the Sixers actually did a hell of a job of fighting their way back in the game. And that brings us to this.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, now, believe it or not, there was a little bit of a turning point in this game. Now, not that I ever thought the Sixers were like, oh, they're coming back, they're going to win. But I've described to you guys before where I watch the Sixers team hoping that they lose, hoping that they maintain their top 6 pick or their lottery protected top 6 pick, whatever. Hoping that they maintain that, one of the 6 worst records in the NBA. All throughout. There's been moments, even in these blowouts, where the Sixers, all of a sudden, they start to hit a couple threes. All of a sudden, they get some turnovers. They had 5 turnovers in the first quarter, 1 turnover in the second quarter. They started to fight a little bit there. They lost that second quarter by only 1 point. And then you get into that third quarter, and all of a sudden, the Sixers, who were down 16, are now only down 8, 68-60. And it was the point in the game. I made sure I marked it. 906. Guerschon Yabusele hit a little jumper. Sixers are on a 7-0 run. They make the score 68-60 at the 9:06 mark of the third quarter. Early goings there. And then the turning point, without question, was Zaccharie. Let me try this. Risacher, who went on a tear. 16 points in the third quarter alone. It went from a 68-60 Atlanta lead to a 107-82 Atlanta lead going into the fourth quarter. It wasn't even fair. Goodness gracious. They win the quarter by 13 points, 43-30. So defense wasn't a big thing, but you know what was? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, Trae Young, who with about 3 minutes left in the third quarter had attempted only 3 shots on the night, he ended up throwing him down. He ended up leading, I believe, all scorers tonight. I have the box score here. Oh, that's the Sixers box score. But he ended up leading all scorers, I think it was tonight, with 28 points. Or it should be 28 points in total to go along with 12 assists in the ballgame. So the 9:02 mark is when the Hawks started to really make their run in that third quarter, and that is what I will consider the turning point of the game. When we come back, there was even more trash talk than that. Trae Young started to get into it. And Nick Nurse got teed up. We'll get into that. And we'll also get into the standings right now and check your comment as well when we return on Locked On Sports Philadelphia, Locked On 76ers postcast. Hopefully you guys are winning some money during the madness. You know what I'm saying? And when you find yourself with some new money, you better know how to manage it. That's where Monarch Money comes in. You check your bank account and never wonder, where did the money go? Because I had a lot of money in there. No, there's not a lot of money in there. I know a lot of us spend a lot of money on food deliveries. I know I could be guilty of that. So manage your money. Keep track of your money with Monarch Money. Monarch Money isn't just about a budgeting app. Oh, no, it's a complete financial command center. That's how you have to think of it. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. Here's what you can think about. Well, when I started using Monarch Money, it definitely highlighted food deliveries and how I got to take it easy on that. But it also keeps track of your groceries and all that stuff. Anything you're spending money on, you can track with Monarch Money. And it's all in one place to make it extra convenient. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. And how about this? Managing money with your partner makes it a lot easier as well. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page with so much less stress, because Monarch Money will keep your finances organized. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONNBA. That's Locked On NBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year, people. That's monarchmoney.com, Locked On NBA, for half off your first year. Coming back, looking at the standings now for your 76ers. Here's the way it works. The Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards are both equally terrible. Well, the Jazz have one more win and also one more loss. They're both 43 games back of first place, but those are the bottom-feeding teams. Charlotte Hornets, New Orleans Pelicans, who the Sixers got next. We'll get more on that in a second. Then the Brooklyn Nets and the 76ers are tied for the fifth worst record in the NBA. Our friend during the broadcast tonight, Keith Pompey of Inquirer.com, of course, of Locked On Sports Philadelphia 76ers daily podcast as well with Kayla Santiago, also pointed out to us the remaining schedules. 11 games left for your 76ers. They got the Pelicans, who, again, looking at the standings, are terrible. Then they got the Wizards twice. Those could be deadly. They also have Miami on this list twice. They also have the Raptors one more time. They have the Bulls on this list. But also good to see that they also have the Milwaukee Bucks in their final 11 games of the season. Then when you flip it over and look at the other team that they're battling with for the fifth worst record in the NBA, you're also looking at the Brooklyn Nets, who face the Raptors twice, the Washington Wizards once, and they have the Pelicans again on this schedule. Those are opportunities, of course, where the Brooklyn Nets could do the unthinkable and actually win some games. How great would that be? Opening the door for the Sixers to take over sole possession of the fifth worst record in the NBA. And we're all crossing our fingers, of course, that that is going to be the case for your Sixers. And as you break it down with the Sixers trying to maintain control, it is a significant difference. Seventh worst record in the NBA. Sixers have a 32% chance of keeping their top six pick. Sixth worst record in the NBA. That jumps up to 46%. So make sure you lose to the Raptors when you play. And then fifth worst record, they have over 50%, 64% chance of keeping their top six pick. So the more lottery balls, the better, as we all know. More ping pong balls, the better, as we all know by now. As far as the technicals go in this game, the first one was about a minute into the game, minute and a half into the game. I couldn't tell what Nick Nurse was yelling about. It looked like he was calling for a carry on Trae Young. Fat chance of getting that one, but he was arguing with the official, walked up to the official while the official was by the Sixers bench and play was going on. He said something. I assume it's something you can't get away with because, he was turned around right away and got teed up. And that was the first technical of the game. The second technical of the game came late in that third quarter when George Niang was going off. He got teed up. The third technical of the game was when Trae Young thought he had an end one situation where he made the bucket and was going to the line. The ref said, no, the foul was on the floor, and this was in the early goings of the fourth quarter, I believe it was. And it was late third, early fourth. And Trae Young motions for the crowd to get excited. And then Trae Young ends up getting teed up for getting the crowd into it. And Ricky Council, thank you so much for missing that extra free throw. It didn't really matter. I mean, you get blown out anyway. But things were definitely getting chippy in this one. A little shoving it sometimes in this one. Nothing crazy, but guys were definitely taking liberties with hand checks. It felt like you're watching the game in the 90s again, which is a better brand of basketball anyway. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. So things definitely got chippy in this one, but along with the turning point in this game was Zaccharie Risacher, who absolutely went off in that third quarter and then ended up dropping 22 points in total on the night. And I know I referenced it earlier with Trae Young, but man, he really did go off late in that game as well. For a guy that was, 28 points, I referenced that. For a guy that was only attempted 3 shots by the, 4-minute mark of the third quarter, to finish with a game-high 28 points, it's pretty incredible. Risacher, the other Frenchman, 9 of 15 shooting in total, 3 of 7 from beyond the arc for 22 points, and 16 of those coming in the huge turnaround there for the Atlanta Hawks. As for tomorrow,
this is what you'll be talking about.
Odds are you're probably going to be talking about the NCAA tournament, but if you do happen to talk about this game, you're probably just going to say, hey, they lost again. Whoopity-doo. You're also going to say, only 11 more games of this, thank goodness. You're also going to say, maybe if you watched a little bit of the game, how many 3 technicals in that game? And why was George Niang so fired up? Game 7 energy for a team that's trying to be one of the, really 5 worst teams in the NBA. That you have a chance of that's something that you could possibly be talking about tomorrow. Other than that, I will be back with you guys tomorrow. You want to talk about what you'll be talking about tomorrow? We'll be talking about the Pelicans. And hopefully the Sixers still finding a way to lose to the no good, horrible, lousy New Orleans Pelicans. Let's cross our fingers for that one. Let's not do what the last team that played in New Orleans did from Philly. You know, they won the Super Bowl. Don't win. Don't take a page out of the Eagles book there. Sixers lose that game. That was a stretch, but any excuse to reference the Eagles while talking about the Sixers is, I think, a welcome thing to think about. But anyway, they play tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. I'll be back with you guys right here on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. The Pelicans, by the way, are 19-53 on the season, as you saw, and they're coming off back-to-back losses. So that's not terrible. Maybe they only lost to the Pistons by 6 points. Hey, there you go. All right, so keep your fingers crossed that the Sixers find a way to blow it against the Pelicans. Man can dream, can he? As far as a comment, just pin 9617, just saying good evening. Good evening to you as well. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow right here on Locked On Sports Philadelphia. And don't forget, Thursday, Locked On Phillies postcast. Phillies postcast on the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. So that's where we'll be doing all baseball season long. Locked On Phillies postcasts on the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel, not on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Switching channels, baby. Keeping it all centralized. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name is Mark Farzetta. Have a great rest of your night. See you guys tomorrow where we'll talk more Sixers and hopefully losing. See you then. Bye.